Man, the hype is real. The hype is building up for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I am super hyped for this game. You guys have heard me say that a bajillion times, but the closer we get to release, the more and more exciting it gets. I mean, like, we've had really bad Dragon Ball games in the past, and this very well could be one of them. I'm hoping it's not. I hope every Dragon Ball game that comes out is good. If that's not the case, I'm hoping this one's good, man, and I think it will be good. I think it will be good from what we've seen. At the time of recording this, some people have some early copies of the game, so I've been watching some, live streamers of it and stuff like that. I think I don't know when embargo is for these people, but they've been able to stream it, and so I think embargo is already lifted. But anyways, I'm here to talk about a possible sequel for DBZ Kakarot. Now, in my previous video, in the talking about the progression trailer and stuff like that, I mentioned how they could possibly do Dragon Ball Super DLC for this game. And while that's still a possibility, what is also a very big possibility is that if this game sells really well, or at least meets their quota or higher, we're gonna get a sequel for it. I just don't see why we wouldn't. That's how it works with games. If they sell really well, what do? You make another one and you improve, quote unquote, from the previous game. Now, the reason why I say quote unquote is because some games, the sequels are not it. That is not the business. But in theory, that's how it's supposed to work. The sequels and stuff like that are supposed to be better, and better. Now, some of you might be asking or maybe thinking, well, what would they do? What would they put in as a sequel? Well, guys, Dragon Ball Super. That's what they can do as a sequel for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. They can do Dragon Ball Super Kakarot, Dragon Ball Super, or just whatever the hell they want to name it. But there's a lot of stuff. Dragon Ball Super is long, guys. It's not as long as Dragon Ball Z, of course, but it's still very, very long. The anime, I think, is like 130 something episodes. The manga is still ongoing, and the manga does like skip around and doesn't have as much filler as the anime does, but they could really take all the anime material and adapt that into a second game. There's like 6 arcs in Dragon Ball Super. Depends if you count that copy Vegeta thing as an arc or not. There's about 6 arcs to adapt in Dragon Ball Super, and they can make it work the same way as they've been doing with Kakarot. They can make it open world, they can add the sub quest, all that stuff. I think it'd be really cool to go through the Resurrection F arc. That would be dope. The God of Destruction arc with Beerus. Like, wouldn't that be cool to just be battling in space with Beerus in the Dragon Ball Z Kakarot like gameplay style and stuff like that? The Tournament of Power would be sick. That would also be a dope one to see. I think what they could also do, which would be probably my thing I look forward to the most if they did this, is the Goku Black arc. I actually really like that arc in Dragon Ball Super. It's actually the arc I like the most in Dragon Ball Super, because the rest of the arcs were just and that's a conversation for a different time. But they could make that like a whole zone in itself, where you're in the future and you have to play as Goku, Vegeta, and future Trunks. Fly around. You can maybe they can make the sub quest you helping out, some of the soldiers fighting against Goku Black and stuff like that. Obviously, you would have multiple fights with Goku Black in that zone, and Fusamasu. It would be dope to play as Vegito Blue. Come on, man, we need more Vegito Blue time. We gotta get more Vegito Blue. Stop sleeping on my boy Vegito Blue. I know for the tournament, not the Tournament of Power. Well, yeah, the Tournament of Power and the Universe 6 arc, they didn't really do too much like flying around. And so I don't know how they would make like the intermissions coincide with the story. But even then, it was a tournament style game. So maybe in between matches, you can do like intermissions and fly around and do subquests. The only thing is, these arcs take place in like voids. They're not in like this vast, like the earth where it's vast and there's trees and there's all this bunch of shit and people around. These are like voids of nothingness with just like a stage there, or some like barren planet. So I don't know how like the quote unquote open world would work there, but I wouldn't even mind if they just took out the open world part of it and just made it like a straight boss rush type thing with cutscenes. I would be okay with that, to be honest, for those 2 arcs. I think that would be perfectly fine. The Beers arc, that takes place on Earth. They could have you do a whole bunch of subquests there. Same with the Resurrection F arc. That would be cool, because you would definitely have to play as the different characters in that. And that's another thing. Dragon Ball Super, Goku is definitely around more in Dragon Ball Super than he was in Z, but other characters did get a lot of time to shine in the Resurrection F arc. You could play as Krillin, Tien, Gohan, Piccolo. I think that's it. I think that's it for who's in the Resurrection F arc. I could be missing it. You know, you can play as them before Goku and Vegeta show up and all that stuff. When they train with Whis, they can make that a gameplay segment too. My point is, there's just a whole lot of content and stuff that they could do to make a separate game with just Dragon Ball Super content. We want to see Super Saiyan Blue. At the time of recording this, it is not confirmed or anything like that if Super Saiyan Blue is going to be in the game, if Super Saiyan God or anything like that is going to be in the game. As far as what we know, this game goes up to the Buu Saga. Just the Buu Saga from what we know. We don't know anything else so far, and we don't know if the game's going to have, well, there's a season pass for the game, so I assume that there's going to be DLC. We just don't know what that DLC is going to be. We don't know, it could be Super DLC. That's another thing we could talk about. If instead of making a separate game, they could do just Dragon Ball Super DLC, and they could run the course like that. Only thing is, maybe they would do it in different like packs. So they could do DLC pack 1, which would be Beerus, DLC pack 2, which would be Frieza, and then, you know, so on and so forth with the different arcs. The only thing with that is that can get kind of pricey, and I don't know how people would respond to that. I know me personally, I would kind of feel iffy about that, because depending on the pricing for how much each of these packs were and how long they were, or they can make one big lengthy DLC, kind of like Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. They could do one big long DLC like that, and that would come out pricey too. But hey, it's DLC. You know how these gaming companies are. They trying to bring in that cut cash. Personally, I would like a separate game instead of DLC, because the thing is, if this game does sell well, what's the next step? What are they gonna do next after this? They could go back with Dragon Ball. I personally would love to see that too. If they went back with Dragon Ball, I love Dragon Ball and Goku was a kid. That's my, out of Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super, the original Dragon Ball is my favorite. I love it. So they could do that if this game sells well. But their best bet would probably be, if they're gonna do super content, might be making it a separate game in the future. If they're trying to really cash in on this game, I think that would be their best bet. But anyways, that's just my thoughts on seeing if there would be a sequel in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and why I think if they do a sequel, it will be Dragon Ball Super content. Leave a comment below what you would want to see in a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot sequel if it does get one. As always, leave a like on the video, it's greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to see more content like this. Anyways guys, have a good one. Peace.